Welcome to the Great Basin Smoke Dispersion and Fire Potential Briefing for Friday, June 7th. This is Gina Palma. Over the last 30 days, we've seen well above normal precipitation in most areas of the Great Basin. The only exceptions are over parts of western Nevada, which have been slightly below normal in the low elevations, and also over parts of central Idaho into northwest Wyoming. Over the last 60 days, we've seen a similar trend, again with those drier signatures over western Nevada and over parts of central Idaho. But still, however, precipitation has been above 50 to 75% of normal. Recent lightning is shown here on the left. You can see quite a bit of lightning out ahead of a cold front that moved into the area yesterday, especially across eastern Nevada, Utah, and up into Idaho. The precipitation with this lightning is in the image on the right. Most of the precipitation we saw was around 1/10 of an inch, but some of these heavier spots of northern Utah into eastern Idaho and western Wyoming were reports of over 1/2 inch of rainfall. Similar conditions were reported up into the central Idaho mountains. No recent snowfall across the area as temperatures were warmer with the exception of parts of central Idaho. Still do have well above normal snowpack across the Great Basin. Recent fire activity is depicted here. Again, the pink circles are the prescribed fires and the smaller red circles are the new wildfires. We've had a couple new starts with the lightning up over central Idaho and down into Utah, but again, remaining small. ERCs are still well below normal for the time of year and below the 50th percentile region-wide. However, some of our lower elevation grasses are in various states of curing across the Great Basin. In southern areas, some areas are cured out or near curing. Further north, cheatgrass is generally in the green to purple stage. Looking at our ERC trend maps, you can see again how far below normal these ERCs are, but they are on the upward trend across the Great Basin with the warmer temperatures we've seen and in some of the drier areas. Live fuel moistures are still above normal for the time of year with respect to sagebrush. The satellite loop from this morning is shown here. We have a strong cold front that moved through the northern portion of the Great Basin yesterday and brought some strong winds to much of the area. Many areas saw wind gusts between 40 and 55 miles per hour over the northern 2/3 of the Great Basin, with winds still breezy this morning. We do have some showers and thunderstorms this morning over parts of Idaho into northern Utah and far northeast Nevada, and also some thunderstorm activity early this morning over southeast Idaho. We will see showers and thunderstorms increase out ahead of this cold front as we move through today, along with the continued gusty winds and temperatures continuing to cool 10 to 15 degrees from what we saw yesterday in some areas. Looking at the weather pattern for later today, you can see how that cold front moves across the northern portion of the area. And again, most of the showers and thunderstorms today will be located across the northern half of Utah into Idaho, Wyoming, and parts of far eastern Nevada. We will also continue to see the gusty winds, which will keep dispersion high across the Great Basin. Southern areas will remain drier today. Looking at the transport winds, you can see the image on the left where the strongest winds will be really in all areas of the Great Basin. However, again, the strongest winds above 45 or 50 miles per hour, generally across Idaho, Wyoming, and into parts of far northeast Nevada and northern Utah. Mixing heights will remain high region-wide, but will start to lower a little bit over central Idaho. By Saturday, this cold front swings into the northern Rockies, still keeping some breezy winds over parts of the eastern half of the Great Basin. As that cold front moves to the east, we will have some showers up over parts of Idaho into Wyoming with drier conditions moving into the southern half of the Great Basin. We will continue to see good dispersion region-wide. You can see how the transport winds change on Saturday, moving the strongest winds over much of Utah with these gusts above 40 miles per hour. We also will continue with those breezy winds over much of Nevada with the exception of the far south and parts of the far western areas of the state. We'll also see winds start to decrease over central Idaho. Mixing heights will again remain high with the exception of parts of central Idaho into western Wyoming. By Sunday, this cold front is now well off to the east and we will see winds decrease with warming temperatures. Temperatures will drop about 15 to 20 degrees from what we saw 2 days ago across the Great Basin over the northern half of the area and only drop a few degrees in the south, but we will see warming region-wide as we move towards Sunday. We will also see dispersion start to decrease, especially over the northern half of the Great Basin as those winds decrease and that cold front pushes well off to the east. So again, on Sunday you can see how those winds really change across the area with very light wind flow with the exception of over parts of central Idaho into Wyoming, and mixing heights remain moderate to high. No issues with clearing index across Utah for the next 2 days, very high clearing indices with those stronger winds. We will see the clearing indices start to drop over the western half of Utah on Saturday as those lighter winds return. The forecast amounts of precipitation will be highly variable with the thunderstorm activity, but the better chances of heavier rainfall will be located over western Wyoming and into Idaho, with much lighter precipitation and more scattered further south. As we go into early next week, we will see a ridge of high pressure start to rebuild across the Great Basin, bringing warm temperatures once again. Temperatures will jump about 10 to 15 degrees from what we see today across the Great Basin, with highs again well above normal, especially across Nevada and Utah. Highs will reach the mid-90s in lower elevations of northern Nevada and over 100 degrees over southern Nevada. We will see dispersion generally moderate across most of the area, but more on the poor side over parts of Nevada and Utah into southwest Idaho, where those weak winds under the ridge of high pressure will return. Similar conditions on Tuesday, just continued warming temperatures as that ridge strengthens. We'll also see a couple days of dry weather as we move towards Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday across the area. By Wednesday, we will see thunderstorms start to redevelop in the higher terrain of the Sierra and push into western Nevada, with warm and dry conditions elsewhere across the basin, and poor dispersion, especially over the eastern half of the region. By Thursday, those showers and thunderstorms will expand and push further east across most areas. The only areas that might remain on the drier side will be far southern Nevada, the Arizona Strip, and far southern Utah. Looking at precipitation amounts, this only takes us through Wednesday morning, so generally dry conditions are expected. However, we will see those showers and thunderstorms return, especially over the northern half to two-thirds of the region from mid to late week. Low fire potential is expected across the Great Basin over the next 7 days. We will see some drying continue over parts of southern areas of the Great Basin as we move towards later in the weekend and next week with those hotter temperatures. And you also can see some drying in areas across California and also up into the Pacific Northwest as we move into the early to mid portion of next week as well. The 8 to 14 day outlook shows warm temperatures and still a wet signature across much of the Great Basin. That concludes our webcast for today. Check back on Sunday for our latest updates, which is when we will start our 7-day coverage of Predictive Services products.